Hello everybody, Calamity here, or at least that's what I wrote when I filed my taxes. Today's video is going to be all about helping out new players who might be joining us for the 5.0 update and are overwhelmed by the huge amount of characters available in the game, and you might be wondering who's good, who should I build first, who should I invest into, who's worth building, stuff like that. And I wanted to make a video basically like if I were to start from day one, who would I build right off the bat? And the easy answer is to say you should focus on a 4-star first rather than 5 stars, because 4 stars are cheaper to upgrade and ascend, and it's going to be saving you a lot of resources while you build up your materials, your mora, things like that. So I always focus on the 4 stars first. The other boring answer that I'm going to give to you is just to build the character that you find the most fun to play, whether that's a bow character, a polearm character, a catalyst, etc, etc. Try out all the different characters that you have, see which one matches your playstyle, see which teammates synergize well together for elemental reactions and stuff like that, and then sort of build your characters around that. But now that we got that lame answer out the way, who else should you focus building when you're starting out? And unfortunately, I have another lame answer for you. And that's going to be literally any healer or shielder. So we have Betty here, who's a healer if you have him, if you pulled for him early. If you happen to get Sayu, she's really good. Layla is a shielder, and she only provides shield. She doesn't heal her team. However, she could also be very worth investing early on, because shields are very nice to have. They prevent you from getting stunned, knocked back, and nothing is more annoying than when you're trying to, do your combos, do a charge attack, try to get your skill out, stuff like that, only to get knocked around by the enemies. Of shields, really nice. Kirara is also a shielder. Barbara you get for free, she's also a healer. I would recommend building them. Healers are also way easier to build up than DPS characters or sub DPS characters, simply because they don't need that much stats compared to DPS. So, and you also have access to the, we go to the artifacts here. One of the earliest domains you have access to is the Maiden's Beloved, which basically just increases healing received by all party members. So you could give this to a healer. And honestly, you probably will never die for the rest of your early game adventures. So having a healer is really nice. It also makes it so you don't have to stop and cook healing food all the time to keep your party topped off. So that's why I recommend building a healer or a shielder, or both. If you have Diona, who's another 4-star character, she is also both a healer and a shielder as well. That doesn't mean cooking is useless, by the way. You can still make food that buffs your character's attack, for example, or you can make food that revives a character that might have died due to your lack of not paying attention on a high cliff or something like that. So having that kind of food is still useful, but at least you won't have to stop to make meals all the time. An actual specific character recommendation, and the first one I'm gonna recommend is Xiangling. I'm sure all the veteran players are like, yep, Xiangling is one of the best characters in the entire game. Despite being a 4-star character, she still remains one of the strongest, and she's been available since launch. And as a free player or a new player, you can actually get her for free by completing the Spiral Abyss. I believe it has to be like floor 3 you need to clear, which is relatively early. The Spiral Abyss is a dungeon you'll also find. It's an endgame dungeon that you'll find early, but don't worry. Floor 3 is still early game stuff, so it shouldn't be too hard to clear. If it is proving challenging, just level up, whatever characters you got, and you'll be able to brute force it. But going back to Xiangling, why is she so good compared to other characters? And the reason being is her ultimate hits hard and frequently. It's a big AoE, so it's great for crowds, but it can also be good for single target because of its frequent hits. Also, she has no cooldown to apply pyro compared to basically everybody else, or most of the characters, I should say. So she can keep applying pyro to help you set up any elemental reaction, like Vaporize is a good example, or Melt. For big damage. She can be used with a lot of characters. She is not picky at all. You can pair her up with just about any characters. I've already showcased the 4-star team in my previous video, but she is, again, just used with so many DPS, even all the way up until the end game. So she is definitely worthwhile the investment. And as you pull on banners, whether it be the standard banner or limited banners, and you get constellations for her, she just keeps getting stronger with each constellation. So very, very strong character overall. And not to mention, when it comes to picking a weapon for her, she is not picky at all. If you ever look up a guide for Xiangling, you're gonna see a long list of weapons she can use because, again, they're all gonna be viable. They're all gonna be fine. I gave her the Catch, which is a 4-star weapon, and it's something you can get for free just from fishing. Takes a lot of time though, but well worth it. And again, she's performing really well, and I use her in endgame quite often, and she does really, really well. And then her artifacts also, she has a lot of variety. Eventually, you'll end up giving her the Emblem of Severed Fate set for more energy recharge and more damage to her burst. But anything before that, she'll be fine. But yeah, she's a really strong character. Highly, highly recommend building her as soon as you can. Next character is going to be Xingqiu. And I know all the old veteran players are also saying, yep. Xingqiu is yet another strong 4-star character that you can obtain. I don't believe you obtain him for free anymore or at all. It's going to have to be from the standard banner or from some limited banner pulls. But if you get him early, really, really focus on building him as soon as you can. Just like Xiangling, he is in so many teams. He's used all the way up from your early game days all the way up to end game. So one of the best units in the game. His AoE is non-existent though, unlike Xiangling. However, his Hydro application and his single target is what makes him such a great character. He's a burst support or a burst off-field DPS character. And his burst basically has these additional swords that attack alongside your active character. So he does a lot of his damage without being on the field. You activate his burst, pop to your main DPS, and his swords will attack along with whatever character is on the field, making him really, really strong. Again, also really good for setting up Hydro reactions. So again, Vaporize also being really good. If you're using him with a Cryo teammate, then Freeze is on the table. If you're doing Hyper Bloom, he's one of the best characters to use for any Hyper Bloom or just Nilo Bloom team because he applies so much Hydro application. Xingqiu is a little less versatile when it comes to building him. However, his weapon is still going to be one of the best weapons you can give him. Is still the Sacrificial Sword, which is a 4-star weapon. I've pulled a lot of these over the years. That's why mine's at Refinement 5. You can also give him the Emblem of Severed Fate set as well for the energy recharge and the burst damage. And just like Xiangling, just keeps getting better as you pull more constellations for him. Definitely worth building in my opinion. Next up for number 4 is actually going to be a group of characters. It's going to be Lynette, Surcrose, and to a lesser extent, Faruzan. And let's talk about why. So Surcrose and Lynette at C1, you're going to need Lynette C1 for this, have the ability to group up enemies for you. And this makes combat a lot easier when you're dealing with crowds of enemies. Killer trolls, slimes, etc., making it a lot easier for you to fight them. It also stuns weaker enemies so they can't really attack you while they're getting stunned. And Surcrose is great for that. Lynette, again, you need her first constellation for her to be able to pull enemies. Really convenient. It will make farming a lot easier. However, it should be noted that for larger enemies, like Ruin Guards, for example, you cannot pull large enemies or the Fatui dudes. The larger ones, they cannot be pulled, and neither can bosses. However, animal characters like Surcrose or Lynette can be useful because they can still debuff bosses as well as provide off-field damage. So you could also pair Surcrose with, Xiangling or Xingqiu, as we mentioned before, and they'll do tons of damage and help. But the main thing is just grouping up enemies. Now, I did have Faruzan recommended, but she's the reason I kind of recommend Faruzan is because compared to Surcrose or Lynette, she's more of a niche usage. But she does also have the ability to pull in enemies with her high pressure currents with her charge attack. Or with her skill. Her burst also pulls in enemies with a whirlwind pulse, so she can be used for CC, but she's mainly a buff to Animo main DPS. And last but not least, who should you build if you're just starting out in Genshin? It's gonna be kind of a lame-ish answer, but any bow character that's a main DPS or a sub DPS. So you're given Amber for free. Fischl's another 4-star sub DPS character that you can use. Ningguang is a catalyst who's ranged, so I could recommend her as well, but I still highly recommend a bow user over a catalyst user like Ningguang, simply because there are certain enemies that will be out of melee range and will be very, very annoying to deal with. So let's show you some examples. Alright, one of the reasons I recommend a bow character is because one of the earliest bosses you'll probably encounter is this Oceanid boss, and they can summon these flying birds, and if you are melee, obviously your attacks are gonna whiff here, so that's why having... You can have a ranged character like Ningguang attack them. Oh, got hit into the water. You can have a ranged character like Ningguang attack them for you. As you can see, she'll do fine. You can also have a bow character. And you can also aim at them yourself. And that's one way you can deal with those enemies. Obviously, there are other ways to deal with them as well, but just as a new player, you know, it's hard to say what you have or don't have and what you can use, so that's why I just recommend just have a bow character or some sort of range to make some fights easier. When you do fight that Oceanid, you're not guaranteed to always get those birds, but just in the short chance that you do, you know, you don't want to have to like reset the fight or just like get annoyed for the next few minutes trying to hit these annoying birds. So another example are these Ruin Guards. Because what you can do with any bow character, they don't actually have to be leveled, but any bow character can do this with a charge shot, is you can shoot the weak spot either on their back, that glowing spot right there, or their face, and it will stun them. So we'll just do the face shot. Hi. You do another charge shot to the face, and we've stunned it. So this allows us to just wail on it, do some big damage while he's down. Alright, there, cool. So yeah, it was basically a free fight because we stunned it thanks to a bow character. There's gonna be, not too often, but there's definitely some situations where just having a bow character or just a range is gonna make your life easier. Of course, you can always just brute force it with melee though if you don't care about taking damage and stuff like that. But just thought I'd recommend some bow / range characters for some fights. It wouldn't be a YouTube video if I didn't forget to mention a bonus character. We're going to talk about Kachina real fast. She is going to be a brand new character in 5.0, and not only that, she's going to be free for everybody as soon as you do some story progression. I'm not sure how much you have to do, but I'm fairly certain you're going to get her early on. And I recommend building her because she actually has an elemental skill that's going to help with traveling. She can ride basically the spinning top. We'll show it here in the gameplay behind me, but she can ride the spinning top to help save stamina, because if you're a new player, chances are you're not going to have the max amount of stamina, so you won't be able to run as far for too long, or you won't be able to climb as much. Her elemental skill, there it is, she can actually climb like sides of mountains and stuff with it. It's not the best. Don't try to climb like the tallest mountain you can find with it, because eventually the skill duration will run out and then you're gonna have to climb with the short character, which is not ideal. So good for climbing like small-ish cliffs, hills, mountains, whatever. She's just gonna make your exploration a lot easier, basically. I don't know how, obviously her damage numbers we don't know until we actually play her, but I think she's still going to be a good character to build regardless for new players, just for the ease of exploration that she'll provide. And they're showing some gameplay here of her doing some damage. She is a Geo character, so she doesn't have that much good reactions at all, actually, because it's Geo, but I think her personal damage is good enough for exploration. I don't know how she'll do for the endgame later. She also does show you the ingredients, special flowers and stuff while in Natlan, so again, she's a really good character just to have around. Just remember that her constellations, however, will be on the banner for 5.0. She'll be on the first half. And that's pretty much going to be it for this video. If you guys have any other suggestions for characters that should be built early on for new players, let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe if you thought this was helpful.